Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 1000th edition of the Boring Enterprise Nerds Nerdletter Talk, where we tell you what we're thinking about writing about, and then sometimes we actually go and write that, and sometimes we go off to the races and write something else in our upcoming newsletter. But nevertheless, it is our intention to tell you and talk about what we're going to write about. So I am Paul Moderman. With me, as always, of course, is the amazing Yelena Perfilyeva.
Hey, everyone.
And we are just gonna let's just dive in. Why am I
Yeah.
why am I even trying to pretend? Let's just dive in. Yelena, I invite
All
you
right.
to go first, please.
Awesome. All right. So my first subject will be, I think, return to maybe something that I have written before, but I see it making kind of a comeback again. It's I would define it vaguely as composable ERP,
Mm,
which is a term I think that Forrester, one of those companies, kind of coined. Um, but most recently, it has been picked up in the SAP world.
mm,
To give our viewers a little bit of perspective, the way SAP started, it was almost like anti-composable ERP, I would say, even though that term did not really exist at the time. So
yeah.
their shtick was integration. So it was tightly integrated, but
Mm,
it means everything was stable and more like faster, better, etc.
mm,
But now it looks like the world's kind of taking turn in a different direction,
mm,
and there is more talk about composable ERPs and just best of breed is back again on the table. So yeah, so very very interesting times. And
good.
I found this really brilliant blog post, and it has like it has everything. It has the Cure. I don't know if you're old enough to be familiar with the band, and it has authors some personal stories, and it has also he's called it ERP disintegration. So
Mhm.
and it's also year-old blog, but I literally just discovered it the other week. So
Yeah, but in especially in the ERP space, a year
it's
is
like
not as
nothing.
long as it is
Yeah.
in like the AI space, right? It's not the same thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So all of his observations, Stuart Brown is author, and I especially liked some of his kind of quotes here. So he's talking about the shadow IT and how within large companies, sometimes different departments kind of create their own systems.
Yeah.
Um, and and then he's calling it so each department brings their own body part, like some macabre Build-A-Bear workshop.
Oh my gosh,
So that
I feel seen by that. I've worked in shadow IT before. That's
exactly,
awesome.
exactly. So this is just the perfect, I think, definition for what composable ERP kind of really turns out to be. Because I think there is, I don't want to go like off the rails because I think this could be easily 1 hour conversation
Yeah,
on
yeah,
this subject alone.
yeah.
But for the sales and marketing and business people, composable ERP is like awesome idea. It's like it's so cool, guys. You can like it's like buffet. You can like pick the best. You can pick like the best dessert. You can pick the best appetizer, and then you can have like the best meal of out of your life. But for the people who actually run systems, it's just nightmare. It's complete and utter nightmare connecting all those composable parts, like in this Build-A-Bear workshop, building this workshop for you in the first place so that you can even have it, and then monitoring, connecting, constantly answering questions and fixing something because something breaks all the time. And on the same subject, I found this really old. So this is 2002 going
Whoa.
back. This is
Okay,
like
that might be
all,
kind of
all
old. Now that's
this
old.
this is
Yeah.
older than some of our listeners, I bet, even
Yeah.
so. But this is actually abstract, somewhat scientific paper on failure in complex systems. And all of these observations, they are general talking about computer systems and as such, they would still apply to today's ERPs and
Mhm.
enterprise software in general, etc. So there's some really good material. So if anyone wants to have more like a chilling perspective on the realities of composable ERP, or complex systems in general, this is great read.
Mm,
And
mm.
just kind of a sidebar, this is a most
This is
bizarre Reddit post that I found, but that also kind of made me think again back to composable ERPs and stuff. So
yeah.
first of all, really wild question: is SAPs having future? I mean, most likely. But then what this person's saying here is just wild. It's like we're
That
planning
is
to.
wild.
It's like I'm reading. It's like, like what? Like what is this company? What are you talking
That
about?
what
I
like if you're gonna so yeah, if you're thinking about that, there's a couple of paths to that. One is just
yeah
drugs, like you're
yeah
just on
exactly
drugs. But
yeah
one is like one path is like I've seen some and even worked with some places where you see the size of the company and the size of their revenue and the size of the number of employees and all that kind of stuff.
mm,
And you're like, why are you guys on SAP ERP?
yeah
Like you
yeah
you have that thought. And so every now and again you're tempted to think, well, this could almost work for like the teeny tiny one, except I don't think it actually could. But like but like maybe somebody is maybe somebody is like looking at it from that perspective like we got sold SAP from this amazing salesperson when we did not need SAP
yeah
at all,
yeah
right? But
yeah
even so, like just from the face of this question, this is lunacy.
yeah yeah.
Lunacy.
I do suspect that the person most likely really doesn't have actual clue what's going on. They probably have
Yeah.
heard some stuff in some random meeting, and they just kind of picking up some bits that they maybe heard and understood or misunderstood.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, my first question, like, if that is your indeed your plan, why are you even on SAP? Why use you're
Yeah.
clearly not of SAP scale? And funny enough, I think um, when people in SAP world start talking about composable ERP, and I think it especially applies to people who are maybe on the fringes of SAP, who are not
Yeah.
like entirely in the loop, but who are
Yeah.
maybe new to this world or who are more like working with business and don't really have technical details. They kind of almost think of SAP modules as kind of parts of this s- systems that also can be composed or kind of decomposed. So what
Yeah.
this guy is
Yeah.
saying, like only SAP FICO will be used. It is well, core ERP is not licensed by the module. It's not like you're separately buying like FICO as DMM. If
Yeah.
if you want to disconnect that, then clearly either you're insane or just like don't like drop SAP altogether. Just go with something else. It's like clearly not
Like, is
not
this
your
company
jam.
planning to just like completely not update SAP at all and stay
Yeah,
on like
yeah.
4.6 or whatever and
So
just
yeah, so
never?
so this is
Yeah.
just bizarre. But I don't plan to write in my story about this, but this is a good chance on video to just I guess disambiguate somewhat and say, guys, it's SAP modules are not what you think they are. At least some of you, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious to most of us who have been with SAP for a while, who are kind of in the loop. But yeah, so this is just very bizarre question. I don't know if any viewers want to go and venture answer that. It's on Reddit. All right, so moving on
Yeah.
from this
Oof. Oof.
huge subject, and that's gonna be a short story. So this hopefully will be shorter story. So this is another surprisingly this is kind of three ghost of Christmas past again. So Hungarian notation again is making rounds in ABAP sphere. So Michal posted yet another blog post about Hungarian notation. There was one in 2015 which caused quite a stir in the SAP community. But this one again, you can see engagement is kind of off the charts for these days.
Yeah, yeah, I was
As
gonna
I
say
see,
for
and
these days that's crazy.
yeah,
That's
people
like
are
that's
actually reading and yeah, doing something, commenting. So, but it's again, it's weird that we still have not moved away from this. But I think one of the problem comes from SAP's own examples because if we look at
yeah,
the code samples in ABAP help, it's all like old crap.
it's all
It's
the
all
old
like
stuff. Yeah.
WA, some GT,
Yeah.
LT, all this stuff is there. It's like iTab 1. Great, awesome, like awesome job naming this stuff, guys. Like really couldn't have
Yeah.
bothered. So I think that SAP really should join this party and start updating
Yeah.
their help examples. First
Yeah,
of
no
all, I
kidding.
mean, make better examples. Examples are atrocious for most part, but at least if because SAP seems to be officially on board with Clean ABAP, one of the guys behind it is working for SAP, so
Yeah.
they're clearly not against it at least. So maybe just join kind of the movement, actually do something, not just say you're supported. So that would be cool. All right. So and I know we had a podcast with Lars, and Lars said that he prefix his variables. And first of all, if you're not Lars, you're not entitled to the same treatment as Lars does. Lars can do like I it's not like Lars cares for my for my
No.
permission in the first place, but
Yeah.
people like Lars can prefix whatever they want. Like they deserve this. But if you're not Lars, then you don't. It's like, buddy, you're not in the same league. So sorry to say, but I used some prefixes, and cleanup up I think is pretty clear on that. That there are some like parameters, maybe even methods, signature like parameters, like importing, exporting. There is certain value in doing that, but this especially like G like global L local that's just nonsense. So
Meh.
and I think some people again are really caught in this. It's like either all or nothing, and they're like, well, what about like parameter? Well, what about it? Like if you want to use prefix for parameters, then use it, but it doesn't mean that you have to use prefixes for everything. It's you can pick and choose what's best for your program, for your
Yeah.
company. So yeah, and yeah, that's it's really subject that I hope should have been dead already, but isn't. And
I guess, Yelena, you're contributing to the problem by wading right into the mix here.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. And now we're talking about this again. Damn it! Right, you made me. Someone awoken me from my slumber and made me write about Hungarian notation prefixes yet again. People, what is wrong with you? All right, and this is our last issue of the year. So it has been customary for the last few years that we have been publishing newsletters that I um, share my top top predictions for the upcoming year. So this is my post from the last year, and just gonna see how many actually made
Yeah, I was
it
gonna
into
say,
reality. So yeah, more projects. I think we're still kind of um could have used some more, to be honest. It's not as bad, but yeah. Then yeah,
uh,
this debacle about no innovation in the cloud. I think SAP kind of walked back on this a little bit, but I think it's still on the table.
yeah, I think it
The
still
clean
is.
core, I think I actually ventured to explain what it is in the last newsletter yet again. Um, and yeah, so so this Las Vegas conferences have not materialized, but I'm still hoping for it. At least TechEd is back in person for next year. So that was
Yeah,
announced just literally yesterday in November. So if you happen to
yeah,
be in Berlin in November
yeah,
2025, SAP TechEd would be the place to be. All
yeah.
right, awesome. So that's all for me, and over to you, Paul.
Okay, let me share my screen. Um, this comes from a find from Hacker News. The title of the whole piece here is Egoless Engineering. And this
Mm.
is this is a guy sharing his thoughts on lessons he's learned in just software engineering over the years, and especially about like evolving into having what you might call an egoless approach, which I kind of like. Um, but the thing that stands out for me in this, and that I think I'm going to write about, is like there was a time when I first started doing like SAP development stuff. I was an ABAP developer, my first ABAP developer job. I didn't understand, and shout out to Mike Berg, who we both know, who was on the same team with me at that point. There was talk at this company of just trying to do everything in the SAP like project delivery world the exact same way that like other software projects are done.
Mm,
And Mike said, and I didn't understand it then, but I think I do now. But Mike said, you guys don't get it. SAP is different. And
mm.
he stood on the table, he practically stood on the table and shouted it. And good for him, because back then he was right. I think he's still right, but
Mm.
back then he was very right.
Super right. Yeah.
Super right
Yeah.
about this stuff. This was like 15, 14, 15 years ago.
Mm,
Um uh and this, so the interesting thing is like this has all these really interesting lessons for like engineering teams who are working on products or
mm,
working on things inside enterprises. And like I find myself, I haven't gone through all the slides yet, but many of the slides here have these like really pithy, awesome little like lessons. And yet I think to myself, I just don't know how that applies or if it applies in the exact same way to how we typically get our big, giant, smelly, massive SAP stuff done.
mm,
You know,
mm,
some things apply. Some things are just generally about how people and teams work and stuff,
mhm.
but other things are very different from what it is. So I
Oh,
kind of, I'm,
Seinfeld. Nice.
yeah, like this guy's meme game is as strong as our meme game here, so that's good too. Um, but I think the angle I'm gonna take is pick a couple of things in here that are like these sound so great, except not in like our enterprise
Yeah.
crap land that we live in, right?
Yeah.
There's the life is different over here on this side of the fence, essentially is the thing. So that's my first one. Second one, like kind of like you, I sometimes I just return to subjects I've touched on before, and I haven't gone and looked at the ABAP to UI5
Mm,
crew in a while.
mhm.
These people are still cooking really good
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
all the time. And so I'm gonna go find a couple of the things that I like in here and give them a reshout on our stuff because I just think that ABAP to UI5 as a project in the SAP world is like almost completely on an island of its own
Mm,
in terms of like, wow, I guess you took the ancient the ancient Sanskrit of ABAP stuff essentially, right? And you applied it to a new thing in a way that's useful and interesting and cool. And there's just not a lot of stuff that does that
yeah.
in the ABAP world.
Yeah.
So shout out to these people, and I'm gonna pick a couple of features that I think are really cool from the last couple of months or whatever, and throw them out there because like it's such a ABAP itself in its runtime and how SAP uses that is so unique among technologies
Mm,
that doing something like ABAP to UI5 is like it's unique on top of unique, right? And so I just love what they do.
yeah.
And shout out and
Yeah.
I'll find
And
some other people.
and I think that ABAP just ended.
Yeah.
I think there might have been like a presentation from these guys or about this tool. So yeah, so maybe we will throw in some links there as well. Because yeah, ABAP is all available online
Yeah.
for free
Yep.
to view at any time.
So yeah, so there's that. There's ABAP to UI5 and um our friend from far away, Antonio, and I think I'm just gonna murder his last name. I'm so sorry, Antonio. However you say his last name there, writes this great blog. And what the really so one aside here is that I happen to be a person who only speaks one language, right? And Antonio writes in Spanish. Um, but the interesting thing is that the English translations of his Spanish work are very good. And to me, part of that is like there must be a core of something really good in what he does
Yeah.
anyway. Like if the translation is good and makes sense and like flows in a great way, to me that means there's a like there's a nugget of skill there that goes beyond language,
Mm.
right? There's a nugget of like clarity writing skill there.
Yeah.
So first of all, like just huge kudos to Antonio for this whole work that he does here and all these pieces. But also he writes, I think he takes a very pragmatic but forward-looking view on the like SAP development world,
Mm.
like getting their feet wet with AI.
Mm.
And I think in terms of the development process, and he records numerous videos of himself using the some of the new-ish AI tool, new to a lot of SAP folks, AI stuff. GitHub Copilot you've all seen. He's also used Bolt.new, which is like just blowing up in like the
Mm.
Silicon Valley world, completely blowing up in that world. Um, but he's done several videos and several write-ups, and yet like still has this pragmatic core of like you still like this is so cool, you guys. And yet, if you don't know what's going on, you're still gonna
Yeah.
fall over, right?
Yeah.
Like that whole thing is like, I wish it wasn't true. I wish we were in this world of like I could just whisper my command to the ether
Yeah.
and like a perfect thing would materialize that I didn't need to know software engineering to accomplish. Like, but I just don't think that's quite there in the SAP world without a lot of help, or like maybe a new product coming down the pike or whatever might be
Mm.
having maybe an even better take on it than this. I don't know. But I think any new products that enter the space of SAP development, they can't be this like generic, kind of like what I said earlier about the this like SAP is just different, right? With
Mm.
these guys,
Mm.
like SAP software development is just different too.
Yeah.
And I think anything that in the AI space that attacks software development in the SAP realm is going to have even more special, like inside baseball knowledge built into it,
Mm.
that it will take longer than just like your bare bones ChatGPT ask me a question about Python
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm obviously I'm fascinated to see what the world will come up with in that space. But I think Antonio hits it on the head here with like check it out, check out all the awesome stuff. It's absolutely cool. And there are things you can do that like maybe step you further down the path, but you can't escape yet. You still have to like
Yeah.
you still have to put your feet on the solid ground of like I get what's going on here,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Need to understand the result and
You
yeah.
just have to. I wish it wasn't so, but you just have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so those are my things. I also wrote down in my notes that I was also thinking about some things for a wish list for 2025, so I might do that too, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know if I've done that every year. I'm maybe you've done it more than me. I'm not sure.
We can do joint stories
Do Oh yeah. Oh
which will
yeah. Okay.
count as one of mine.
Heyo.
Yeah.
Um.
Awesome.
Okay. So that is our nerd letter talk. Thank you everyone for watching, listening, drawing, whatever you've done in this time. Like, comment, subscribe, share, send us hate mail, all that good stuff. We just want to hear from you. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Take care. Bye.